welcome to the second part of my restoration of a Mamod TE1A traction engine, and in this episode we're going to be concentrating on the firebox and some soldering the whistle mounting collar back on. But first we're going to have a steam up of a traction engine I bought off eBay the other day. It's a West German with Lesco. I've dated it to, well, I've not dated it spot on, but it's pre-1990 because it's labelled as made in West Germany. So they're still made today, but this one's pre-1990. And just lighting up the solid fuel and putting it in the smoke box. Well, what can I say about these? They're the same as, but very different to the Mamod. The actual build, the engineering's good. Well, the engineering's very good, but it's very different to a Mamod. They're two different beasts, even though they're the same. The Lesco, it's more, how can you describe it? It's more of a Swiss watch compared to an everyday watch. It's very fine engineering and some pieces on it, if you compare it to a Mamod, they're like tin plate. They're nowhere near as robust as a Mamod. The Mamod's the tougher, simpler engineering, simpler to work on and everything. Although having said that, this one's looks like it's been stuck in a damp garage or a shed for 30 years. Because it looks very rough. It's got a lot of surface rust on. I had to soak it in WD-40 for about 16 hours before I did something on it, probably. I did it the night before I bothered doing anything on it. Well, the day before I bothered doing anything on it. So maybe about 20-24 hours it soaked in WD-40, then I started to release the seized bits. As you can see now though, she's running fine. I've really, rather than a band, with Lesco's run on a gearing system and they have a clutch. So I had to release all the clutch and the gear wheel and all that lot, because all that had rusted on. I've had to release the whistle, the steering, well, the steering weren't too bad, sorry, but I've released the regulator, the whistle, the wheels were seized on, so they've been released. They'll obviously get a good clean up and restoration when I come round to restoring it. I have to find somebody with a lathe and a safety grainer for giving everything a sandblast, because this one really does need a sandblast. It's got a lot of rust. And there, if you look at the bunker behind the rear wheel, that's the labels proclaiming West Germany, and it's also stamped inside the bunker on the floor. But yeah, it's a lot more complicated than a Mamod. There you can see the sight glass and watch the water boiling in the boiler. But they made a lot more complicated. The actual engine they used on this, the cylinder, they actually built it with a valve system. So instead of the piston just being pushed one way, it gets pushed from one end, does its travel, then gets pushed from the other end when the valve works it, so it's more or less continuous power, which makes it run smoother. It'll also make it more powerful, probably more economical as well with the steam. It's a great engine. It's made as a real traction engine would be, so it's fantastic engineering, but the Mamod's a lot tougher, more robust, and it's certainly more friendly for kids operating it. It's simpler to operate, simpler to understand for kids first getting their hand in it, and it's also a great starting point for adults really that want to get into it. It's just bog simple stuff for you to learn the basics and get used to firing them, and it's brilliant build quality. The materials are better than Wilesco uses. Like Mamod uses proper old brass and all that lot. You can't fault them really. It's just a lot simpler engineering. And there we are. It run out of steam there. You saw it slow down elegantly. And here we're starting working on the Mamod. I'm cleaning off the firebox with a wire wool. Oh, we start again. Wire brush drill tool. A wire wheel, careful where they snatch, or you get claret around. And here I've put a cut brush on to get rid of the gunge and rust inside the firebox. And there you can see the Mamod name on the base. Stamped into the base of the firebox. Just going round it with a bit of sanding now. And here I'm using the mini Dremel to get a bit further in. I did toy with the idea of putting an anti-rust coating on and then into the rust, but I don't know whether it'd be heat resistant, so I avoided it and just went for barbecue paint. There I am, still sanding the front edge there. Sanding the back edge where boiler will be. And there we go, spraying on some paint. And after I painted it once, baked it in the oven, then I brought it out, rubbed it down a bit, and put it back, sprayed it again, and put it back in, so it's had 2 coats and baked on. And here I'm replacing the rest of the firebox, and instead of the chrome plated steel, which rusts heavily, I'm replacing it with a brass item. Unfortunately at this point I've discovered the guy who made it, his guide dog were off that day because it's an absolute mile off on measurements. Unless some TE1As are different, but I doubt it. Anyway, I cut it down with a pair of scissors because I couldn't find my tin snips. But there we go, I'd fitted the wheels to see how level it was, and the wheels were marked up okay. So that's not so bad. They've got that bit right. But there we are, there's a basic finished firebox. And looking good. Still read the Mamod name under the paint. And ready for assembling to rest when I've done the rest. Should look good. And there's the bit I cut off the swath. A big long piece cuts off of it. And there we go. You can see reflection in it. It gives a beautiful warm colour. And yeah, you could go over that with a Brilla pad and clean it up, but it'd still rust. Whereas now, brass won't rust. It'll just get tarnished and dirty, but when it gets too dirty, I can remove the wheels, de-tarnish it and give it a polish. Whereas that, you'd never get that polished again. You could probably clean it and have it re-chromed, but you'd still have the pits in if you didn't have it re-polished first. And depending on how deep the rust is in it, if it's too deep, you won't get it re-polished. And anyway, at this point, I'm going to be doing some silver soldering. And here I am. Putting the actual flame to it. And here I am setting fire to my O-ring tool. There we are. Hey, wallop. Move it out of the way. It's at this point I usually grab it and try and use it. Discover it's still hot, burn my hands. I think at the moment there I've filled my boiler with solder. Although at some point here you do see it running. I do get it right, I just find it hard to work on it with my shakes, and it'd be so much easier if I didn't flap about like a goldfish. And you do see it, there we are. We've got a bit flawed there. There you are, it's flawed in beautifully. And I think I had to get a bit round the other side. Although to be fair, that bit I just put in, and when it flawed, it should have flawed round the back end as well. But to make doubly sure, I put some on the back end. There you go, there's some there. Heated up, and that should flow in. I don't think it did, so I'll give it a nudge to remind it. And there we go, flowed in. So beautiful. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you will, please subscribe. And thank you to my subscribers. Bye for now. Catch you in the next episode.